Hi, I'm Noel Bentley, and I'm the host of TEDxBearCreekPark. And I'm happy that I have Carly Phillips here with me. She is a PhD in ecology, a postdoctoral fellow, and researcher in residence at the University of Victoria. Hi, Carly. How are you today?
Hi, Noel. I'm doing well. Glad to be with you.
Yeah, it's good to have you. And what I'd like you to do, if you could, is tell us some more about yourself, about what you're up to right now and how you got to where you are ready to deliver your TEDx talk.
Yeah. Right now, I'm working on research to see how we can reconfigure our forests so that wildfire risk is reduced, but that we can couple that wildfire risk reduction with integrations into BC's budding bioeconomy. And so that's the work that I'm doing at the University of Victoria. But more generally, and especially what drew me to TEDx Bear Creek Park was the opportunity to share some of the ideas that I have about climate change and climate solutions and some of the larger systems that are creating the problems that we're seeing right now.
Well, fair enough. I mean, it's something I would say it was omnipresent. It was with us all the time until about a year and a half ago. But it hasn't gone away, obviously. It's something we need to be continuing the public discourse on. Now, for people who are going to hear your talk, I'm kind of curious, how could they, or will there be a way for them to take your idea and somehow become involved in the solution?
Definitely. I think one of the big things that I've learned as a scientist and also a citizen is that voting and being politically involved is actually critical to science. And an important part of how we do science, how science is regulated, how the findings of different scientific endeavors are applied in the policies that govern our country and also kind of global institutions as well. And so I think that my hope when folks see my talk is that they'll understand that caring about climate change means caring about their communities and also the institutions and systems that govern those communities.
Oh, and fair enough. And do you ever find, resistance to what you have to say? And if it does, what direction does it come from? And how is it voiced?
There's definitely resistance, and I totally understand where people are coming from. I think that in order to fully address climate change, we're going to need to make some big transformative shifts in our policies, in our systems, in the way that we currently do things. And that's obviously reasonably scary. But I think that what I come back to often is that the consequences of inaction are far scarier. And keeping that in mind, I think, will hopefully allow people to see that the path forward is a better one, that there's possibility to have it be a more just path forward, and that we're able to fix the systems that we have to benefit everyone, as opposed to a handful.
Oh, yeah, and fair enough. And I know you're doing your work now here in the province of British Columbia, but you had mentioned you've moved a lot. You've been doing your work in a lot of places. You want to sort of expand our vision of where you've been and what you've done?
Sure. I've been really fortunate in that my work has allowed me to travel to a lot of places, see different types of ecosystems, and those experiences have been incredibly formative in thinking about global change and thinking about climate change and the ways that as humans we have impacted our environment. I've been able to travel to cloud forests in Costa Rica. That was where I did some of my first research projects. My dissertation work for my PhD was in Arctic Alaska. And I've also had the opportunity to travel to Arctic Sweden and also beautiful sites in the Appalachian Mountains in the southeastern United States. So I think it's special to have a relationship where you're studying an ecosystem. I've found that for those, I see them in a really different light than those that I'm not studying.
Oh, and fair enough. Yeah, I think you had mentioned we were speaking earlier that you wished you could get your U-Haul card stamped for every time you had to move.
If they had a punch card, oof, I would have lots of rewards at U-Haul.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
for a 10th move free. Yeah, no, fair enough. But it gives you quite a different perspective. or a rounded one that we don't always appreciate until we bring it out. Now you've obviously you've done a lot of work in getting this together, but how challenging has it been, or what have you been surprised about when preparing to do your TEDx talk?
One thing that surprised me is that every single word in my talk matters. And I think that in other pieces that I've written and talks that I've given, that's not necessarily the case, because they're either more off the cuff, less prepared, uh, or there's just more words that you can use. And so you fill that space. Um, I think the other thing that I've noticed is I have no ideas about what to do with my hands. I don't know where to put my hands. I don't know how to use my hands. I've been trying to hold a harmonica sometimes when I've been rehearsing. That does not help. So I'm hoping to figure out what to do with my hands before before we actually do the talks.
Yeah, so fair enough. There's several weeks left until TEDx Bear Creek Park. That's on Saturday,
Hoping that's
March
enough
25th.
to,
Yeah, yeah,
sorry,
yeah. You
move
got
my
time.
body.
Oh, it's fun. It's good. That's better. We want people to be able to come to life. It's all about being the genuine person. Because you're right, it is a talk, and it's although we call it hard to have a one-way conversation, but that's what we want to happen for the audience. So now I'm also I'm curious here as well. What you do afterwards is there any way that your TED talk is going to be something to help you further your message, or will your experience sort of change how you go about your work, or just add a layer to what you're up to?
One of the things that I've really appreciated about this whole process is that I've been able to really think deeply about a lot of the issues that I'm talking about, um, and process through some of those, and get some new insights by talking about it, not necessarily in the way that scientists normally would. And so I expect that I will continue to build on some of the ideas in my talk, and those will feed back into the projects that I'm working on right now, and hopefully the work that I do in the future.
Well, and in terms of your work, I mean, we hear the phrase that people often say, "I stand on the shoulders of giants." That we always have people who come before us that laid the groundwork or foundations. Are there people like that for you in your field or in your work that you've done that you could name or make us aware
I can try.
of?
um, One of the science communicators that I really admire is a guy named Ed Yong. He writes for The Atlantic right now. He's done some incredible coverage on all sorts of different scientific topics. So he's been covering COVID right now, and I've really appreciated reading the research that he's done, essentially talking to other experts. But he's also done, he did a TED talk a few years ago about parasites. And so I really appreciate the range, but also the curiosity that he brings to his work, because I think that as a scientist, that curiosity is essential.
Right. No, fair enough. And you mentioned that as one of your influences, and it sounds like someone, and the kinds of people that if those who watch TED Talks would be interested in connecting with as well if they hadn't already. Now, and I have to put you on the spot.
I
I
know
know
it's
this
coming.
whole thing's about that, but as one of your influences was Ed Young, Pitbull.
I
I
love
saw,
Pitbull.
yeah. How is Pitbull one of your influences? I want to see the dots connected.
He's been with me a long time, since before I had discerning music tastes. And I think that that's been essential, but I do truly love his music in a way that I just never expected to. I dressed up as him for Halloween. I have a Pitbull prayer candle. Um, I just love Pitbull, Mr. Worldwide. There's a there's a confidence that I really admire in the way that he approaches his work.
Right. You see, and that's one of the things that didn't get in your application, but we have to always remember the people when they give TED Talks, there's so much more to them. And we always like hearing it's been really appreciated that you've spent this time to allow us to get to know you, your idea more, and broaden the scope of what we understand about what you'll be delivering, and what we'll be broadcasting, I should say, on Saturday, March 27th. I wanted to give you the last little opportunity here. If there's anything you'd like to say or encourage people, or how would you like to encourage people, or why should people come? And I always say come, but it's listen online to your TED Talk.
I think that I am one of 12 wonderful speakers that are going to be participating in TEDxBearCreekPark this year. And I think that folks should come and listen because there's a lot to learn and there are a lot of interesting ideas and passionate people that are delivering them. And I think that right now, I know I feel understimulated because of the pandemic. And I think that TEDxBearCreekPark is a great way to kind of find that stimulation intellectually and also engage with some new ideas.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks very much, Carly, for spending the time to do this interview today.
Thank you so much.
And yeah, so people are, again, to remind people that you can see Carly and 11 other wonderful TED Talks. That'll be Saturday, March 27th. We have complimentary tickets this year because it's all online. And we hope to have, you among the 10,000 people watching. So take care. And thanks again, Carly.